Welcome, everybody. This is Rotary eClub of Silicon Valley. Every week, we bring you the stories of people who are improving the world around us. They work locally, work digitally, they work globally, they work some combination of the above. The basic idea is that there is a joy and meaning that comes from spending your time serving others. This is the basis of service clubs all over the world, including those of Rotary International, 1.2 million people in 36,000 clubs globally. Ours is one of those 36,000. The Rotary eClub of Silicon Valley is an online and asynchronous service club. That means that for people who have a heart for service but are crazy busy, and that thought that you could take in the meeting sometime between Monday morning and Sunday night at your convenience, that might work out really well for certain folks who are like, man, I'm just busy. That happens. So we would welcome you learning more about us by going to rotary.cool. That will get you to our club's site. You can learn more about Rotary itself at rotary.org. In that space of making the world better, our presenter today, Ben, has been working for 20 plus years on a project that is the kind of thing that is heartwarming every single time I think about it. That sense of the world can be a beautiful and wondrous place is absolutely something that is carried through the work of the Memory Project, which you can find at memoryproject.org. He has built on that work over time, helping out kids in Afghanistan and in other places. He has worked to make this organization something that has been successful and malleable to possibilities. And so we will have the opportunity as a part of our work with him to explore other possibilities. I've talked enough. Ben, what a pleasure to have you back with us. Welcome from Madison, Wisconsin, and we hand the mic over to you.
Well, thank you so much, Rushton, and it's really an honor for me to present to your club again. And I'll review the story of how the Memory Project came to be, which started 21 years ago, or 22 years ago now, and then share some new updates as well. So I hope you enjoy it, and we'll begin with, let's see here. Okay, so the Memory Project began in 2003 when I was at an orphanage in Guatemala. I had just finished college and wanted to do a little volunteer work somewhere else in the world where I could practice my Spanish. So I ended up at this orphanage, which was really a unique place because it wasn't accessible by road. It was only accessible by boat, so very remote. And it was very hot there, so the kids loved to swim in the river. And while I was there, I was taking a lot of photos of the kids on my old film camera. This is right around the time when digital cameras were becoming more common, but I still had a film camera. And a Guatemalan man who had grown up in the orphanage saw me taking photos and said, when you go home, you should really have those photos printed and send the prints here for the kids. Because he said, I grew up in an orphanage here. I've never seen a photo of myself as a child. I don't know what I looked like. I don't have any special keepsakes from my early life to be a special memory of my childhood. And I was so struck by that because he was describing a type of need that I hadn't really thought about. A need, a sort of a psychosocial, emotional need for the kids to know that their life story mattered and that people cared enough to help them record their life story as they shape their unique identities and grow up. So I had always loved doing portraits in high school art class, and I knew that our country was filled with really talented high school art students who could make wonderful portraits. So I thought, well, what if we gathered photos of kids in orphanages and refugee camps and other difficult situations, and we distributed them to high school art students who could study the kids' photos and make these beautiful portraits for them as gifts. And not only would these portraits serve as special memories for the kids as they grew up, But they would also give them a sense of connection with youth in other countries. And this could be a way to use art to sort of help build international kindness and friendship between youth all over the world. So that was the basic idea. And I just started connecting, high school art teachers with photos of children all over the world, and their students made the portraits. And here you can see a series of, so here is the high school art student receiving a photo of a boy from an orphanage in Thailand in this case. And here's that boy receiving the portrait that she made for him. This series of photos was actually part of a exhibit at the U.S. State Department in D.C. in 2010 about, they called it the art of diplomacy, and it was about how these art students were spreading goodwill around the world with their artwork. So one more, this boy with the photo of this girl and the portrait that he made for her. So for most of the last 21 years, we've been doing portraits, but in the last 5 or 6 years, we also started to invite art students to create what we call identity art. And so this is for younger students, elementary, middle school students who perhaps aren't ready to create handmade portraits, but can create a piece of art that focuses on the child's name and three positive words that the child chooses to describe themselves. So here, this a girl named Esther said that she was creative, helpful, and a reader, and the art student made this piece of art for her, celebrating her identity in that way. Now, on the back of the artwork is actually the back is actually just as important as the front because on the back we ask our students to put a photo of themselves and to trace their hand so that the kids receiving the artwork can symbolically touch hands with them. And it's always amazing to me. I've delivered a couple 100,000 pieces of art around the world over the last couple decades, and the kids receiving the artwork are always as interested in the back as they are in the front. And this really speaks to how the true purpose of this project is to create a sense of interconnectedness between youth around the world. And we're using art to do that, but the art is the vehicle, and the back of the art is where that connection happens between the youth who are sharing this special exchange. The following photos are going to show you many girls in Afghanistan receiving their portraits. We've done this in 58 countries around the world, but Afghanistan is probably the country that has called to my heart the most because we were using this as an opportunity to celebrate girls' right to receive an education. As you know, but even before the Taliban took over, girls in Afghanistan struggled to go to school and to have those same rights. But we created portraits for thousands of girls in Afghanistan over 4 years. And it was really powerful for them to know that youth on the other side of the world had been studying their photos, creating this artwork to celebrate them and cheering them on in their educational journey. And you can see all these girls running home from school afterwards with their portraits to show their families. It was just such a special event for them every time we did this for 4 years. So, needless to say, it was absolutely devastating when the Taliban took over, and all of these girls again lost their rights to go to school and work and really have a free life. So this is a very, very long story short, and I'm just going to mention this in case anyone listening has a heart for Afghan girls and wants to be involved in this effort. Uh, along with a couple of Afghan people and a couple other Memory Project people, we basically have become responsible for these 20 orphaned Afghan girls who are we've now moved to Pakistan, and they're living in a home in Pakistan, and everything we're doing for them there is basically just to give them the chance to go to school, just like of other kids around the world. So if you happen to have a heart for Afghan girls and would like to be involved in supporting them in any way, please don't hesitate to be in touch. And similarly, I would like to mention, oh, sorry, this photo I was just in Pakistan 2 weeks ago with the girls and a couple other supporters and had just a wonderful time. Um, but this next slide, I'm just going to breeze over as well. But this is something else that has come about from the Taliban taking power in Afghanistan. Um, I'm part of a small group, very small. We're just getting this off the ground. We're starting a new nonprofit called Men for Equality. And basically, the purpose of Men for Equality is to be the opposite of the Taliban. The Taliban in Afghanistan has removed all women from all positions of leadership. Their government is 100% male. Our government in the US is 72% male, only 28% female. That's absurd to me. That's just absolutely crazy that we still have that huge gap. And so, if you're a man who's interested in being part of a group of men who want that to be 50-50, who want gender parity in our government, please let me know as well. We'd love to have you involved in our new group. But getting back to the Memory Project art program, uh, I would love your club members' help in thinking about what we should do going forward. Because over the last couple decades, we've had over 330,000 youth who have participated. We've delivered artwork to 58 countries. We fund this entire thing through participation fees, and the fees have always been $15 per student, even back in 2006, even though $15 in 2006 would be closer to, $24 or $25 today. We're still asking for $15. In the year before the pandemic, we had 30,000 students participating. Nowadays, we only have 15,000 students participating every year, so we only have about half the number of students. Well, why is this? Because our program remains the same, the cost remains the same, and teachers still tell us that they and their students love this project. We surveyed our teachers in the spring, and we basically found that they were reporting lower enrollment in art classes and clubs with fewer skilled students. They've said phones have changed the students' interest and lowered their attention span to the point that some students have lower motivation for the slow process of creating art by hand. Only 17% of our teachers reported little to no stress, while the remaining 83% reported moderate to high stress in their jobs. So, all of these factors make it more challenging for art teachers and students to sign up for the Memory Project. And we can't change most of that, but one thing we can do is to eliminate the participation fees. And that's where I would love the creative minds that you have in your network to please get in touch if they happen to have any good ideas for us. And this is the last thing I'll mention before we go into the discussion. One thing we've been trying to do is contact large art museums and large art schools to actually ask if they might adopt the Memory Project into their organization, thinking that perhaps a really large art museum might have a big budget for education or a wealthy donor who might say, we would love to just pay the $200,000 a year it takes to run this. We'd love to just pay that and have this program be part of what our museum or our organization offers to youth around a country or around the world. So we've contacted, 30 different people at different organizations, all just cold emails, people we don't know, and we've gotten very few responses. So with that, I'd like to just leave that question hanging out there for if anybody has anything to offer. And I should probably stop talking so we can get on with our discussion. Thank you so much.
Excellent, Ben. I love what the Memory Project is about and how you've grown it over time to really share kind of its possibilities in other ways. I'll do an introduction of the people that we've got in the group, and then we'll shift to Q&A. Team, always, as always, think in terms of adding questions to the chat, which is a signal to me to read them, or to say I have a question in the chat, which is a signal to me to say, go ahead and unmute and ask your question. So we will handle things that way. So, uh, first of all, I'll introduce a guest of the club and longtime friend of these recordings, Victoria Griesmuller in Budapest, Hungary. Good to have you, Victoria. Good to see you. From our club in Italy, Cecilia, our treasurer. In the UK, Steve, good to see you, sir. All right. Mike, our immediate past president in the Sacramento area, and my name is Rushton. I'm in San Jose in the Silicon Valley as well. So, Ben, let's start with this. There are so many cool stories from what it is you do. But I want to zero in for a moment on the program for the girls in Pakistan. These are girls from Afghanistan who are living together in Pakistan. Are they living together? Can you tell us more about their circumstances? Are they orphans? Are they part of just an educational group? What is it that brought those 20 together and to your attention?
Oh, yes, it's a very long story. How do I summarize this best? These are girls who are from a very remote province in Afghanistan called Nuristan, and there aren't many schools in Nuristan. And in fact, there's not even phone coverage or clinics. So people are living like they were, a couple hundred years ago. So these girls, some of them are true orphans in the sense that both of their parents are deceased. A couple of them have one deceased parent. A couple of them have more or less been abandoned. It's sort of all the many of the same issues that might cause children in the United States to end up in foster care. Every child's story is different. So these girls, every single one of them has a different story. But there are a couple of the girls who do have parents who essentially wanted something better for them. They wanted them to go to have a chance to go to school, and so they asked the people that I'm working with if they could accept them and bring them to Pakistan. So this is also, I would say, it's also an effort to prevent child marriage because most of these girls have older sisters who were, married off when they were 13, 14, 15. Um, the sort of common situation there is that girls are married off that young because they are kind of traded for cattle. So an older man will essentially give 10 cows to the girl's family and then have the girl as his wife. So all of these girls really wanted something different. They didn't want to be child brides. They wanted to go to school, and so all of them wanted to go to Pakistan. And so, yeah, they're living in one house that we're renting for them there with four adults who are caring for them, who are also from Nuristan, and they're going to a private school. And in 21 years of doing the memory project, I don't know that I've been involved with any children whose life has been so drastically changed as these girls. That the path of never going to school, never learning how to read or write, becoming child brides, compared to now studying at this private school that's taught in English and they're studying on a Cambridge curriculum and they're, learning. It's amazing. All of them already speak, four different languages. It's really incredible. But I could go on and on, so I better stop there.
Well, all good. And just on that front, if people want to support what you're doing, they really have kind of the option of um, kind of at a very high level, being a sponsor for an individual girl, or donating as a part of just the larger project of housing and caring for and educating the kids. Is that right?
Yes, absolutely. We're funding this by we've asked uh, some people to essentially adopt a girl from a distance, and so I've adopted one girl, which is truly adoption of the heart in the sense that I have committed to supporting her financially, all of her needs for the next 10 years while she still finishes growing up, and we have approximately 10 other people who have done that for other girls. And then we, but we do have other needs for the girls, like we want them to be able to study music or arts or enrichment. So, some people have donated, it's like, oh, I want to sponsor some music lessons for them, things like that. But we also have people who are involved, who are sort of becoming mentors for them on Zoom who aren't involved financially, and that's great too. So financial donations are not necessary to be involved. We do have a number of people who are sort of helping the girls learn English, and just a couple. We have a couple women who are sort of mentoring the girls, and it's just yeah. Anyone who's interested should contact me. I wonder if I should flash my contact info up on the screen, or maybe is it
Well, we can
pretty
also get this in the what's sometimes called the show notes, right? Like
you'll
the
take
links
care of
that
it.
people can follow afterwards.
Okay, sounds good.
And from the Memory Project or from memoryproject.org, is there a contact that also allows people to get to you?
Uh, yes. On memoryproject.org, people would see the email address info@memoryproject.org, or they could email ben@memoryproject.org,
Okay.
and that would come to me.
Okay, I'll put the link to the Memory Project site in the chat just for the group that we've got on the call. Take a look. And additionally, when we look at the Afghanistan question, did Afghanistan come into the Memory Project in the same way like other countries did as well, or was there something special about how Afghanistan kind of got on your radar? This is a really good question that came from Victoria in the chat.
So I would say that to some extent we are always interested in any country. We're throughout the last 2 decades, we've reached out to organizations all over the world. Whenever organizations are suggested to us, or if I read about some organization in the news, we connect with children's organizations in all sorts of different ways. Uh, Around the year 2017, there was a lot of negative conversation going on in our country about people from Muslim majority countries. And so, because our mission is to create a kinder world through art, we thought, well, let's actually try to make a concerted effort to do this with children in Muslim majority countries, just to try to help our students and the kids receiving the artwork see the human in each other. So we did actually try specifically to reach out to kids. We did this a lot in a refugee camp for Syrian families in Jordan, on the border of Syria and Jordan. We have done this for children in Lebanon and Iraq and Egypt and many different countries. So in that sense, we also wanted to, and Pakistan, a lot in Pakistan, but we wanted to find a great partner, a great organization to work with us in Afghanistan. So in that sense, well, Afghanistan is special in the sense because, girls there, girls and women, face such a unique challenge. It is generally widely acknowledged as the most difficult place in the world to be a girl or a woman. And that, I guess, if I'm speaking on a personal note, just calls to my heart so much because I have one child. She's a girl, And so that's been my whole life parenting her is I have a very strong connection to girls and girls' rights. But yeah, little of all of that.
Well, that's wonderful. I love that you have been in a position to be helpful and to learn from so many great women. Our club is involved at the moment in a project to help girls in Nepal through
Oh,
Days
fantastic.
for Girls. That is a great organization. So, um, shifting back to the art project. Two questions. First of all, when you first sent me info about what you were doing, the info said 57 countries, and you mentioned in the presentation 58. Did you recently add a 58th country?
I would have to, let's see, what country? Oh, yes, Armenia. We added Armenia. Yes.
Well, congratulations on thinking about another country. That's really cool. And Mike mentions in the chat, he said that his daughter teaches art in a middle school here in the Bay Area, and from your presentation, you talked about ways to get middle school art students involved. How do teachers and schools and districts engage with you?
Well, they come to our website and they can fill out the sign up form, but they're also totally welcome to just email me directly. The Memory Project, before the pandemic, we had 7 staff members when it was larger. Now we have 2. So it's me and Sarah. And so, yeah, send an email to either ben@memoryproject.org or info@memoryproject.org. Ben comes to me, info goes to Sarah. Either one works. And we will just, talk to you, talk on the phone, talk by email, answer any question that the teacher has. So it's very personal. There's no what's the word when you call in on a phone and you have to go through
No
the
phone tree
yeah,
that
there's
they're
no
having.
phone tree.
Yeah. Good,
Yeah.
good. All right, yeah, and Cecilia asks about the participation fee. So $15 just annually? I mean, how does that work?
It's basically every time any student uh, signs up, we ask for $15 along with that portrait. So when the portrait's mailed to us, it's accompanied by $15 in theory. Now, at least 20% of our teachers tell us that they are at lower income schools and they can't find the $15. Sometimes we'll ask them if they think they could do $5 or $10. But for many teachers, they say, we don't have any money at all. I'm already using my own pocket money to pay for my art supplies. We say, okay, forget about the fee, just we just want to have your students involved. So yeah, we end up waiving a lot of fees, but in theory, it's $15 for every piece of art.
Okay. And you have some supporters who are essentially stepping in to cover the costs at schools that may be in areas where there are fewer resources, in order to get them kind of comfortably within the system and communicating so that they can stay in the system and keep doing artwork.
Yes, we have some, and on the local level, some teachers, have their own supporter locally. Maybe it's someone outside of their school, or maybe it's their PTO, or maybe it's
Rotary
um,
Club.
their own Rotary Club, or
Right.
anybody who said, "Oh, I want to sponsor your 20 students to do this. I'll contribute the $300 for your 20 students to do this." But then we do have a few people who send a check to the Memory Project for a larger amount to say, please use this to sponsor, 100 students or whatever it may be. Yeah, of your choosing.
Okay, cool. So the work that you've done, I mean, like you've done this for over 20 years now, right? Um, would you say that there are certain lessons about what it means to devote yourself personally and professionally to a project like this that you would share with, like a college student, might be inspired to say, "Hey, I want to start something, like that. I've had this idea or that idea." What are the kinds of things that for you are the lessons? They might just be about how you think about the work, how you think about yourself. It might be, a piece of business advice. It could be anything.
Mm. Well, I guess one thing that pops into my head was thinking about talking to a college student. If I remember being a college student myself, I was just out of college when I started this, and I was doing a master's degree of social work at the time when I started this. And I had a classmate who I remember talking to him about this funny new idea I had it's called the Memory Project, and we're going to make portraits of kids. And I was saying, I don't know if people are going to get into it. I don't know how it will be received, if art teachers will want to do it, or I have no idea. And I remember him saying to me, well, if you don't really need to worry about that because you can just sort of start it. And if society values what you're doing, it's going to grow. It's going to take off. And if society doesn't really value it, then it won't go anywhere. So just start it and see what happens. Um, on a side note, ironically, like just a year ago, he was thinking of making a career change, and he was talking to me about that and whether this new job would be good and his new idea. And I repeated his advice, but I didn't. I said, somebody once told me, and he said, "Oh, that's good advice." And I said, "You said that to me, 20 years ago." He's like, "I said that?" Oh. But yeah, that's something. And even with this men for equality idea, I mean, that's in my mind again. If society values it, maybe we'll get a bunch of men involved and we'll be able to do something. But if that's not really wanted by society, then it'll flop. So, um, yeah, I guess the point of saying that is all we can do is try, and then to some extent, I think that we aren't even ultimately responsible for what happens. All we can strike a match and see if the kindling takes or if the match blows out, and that's all we can do.
All right. Well, now one of the things that has I think made the project successful is that you've identified this very specific need. It is within the context of an incredibly powerful story about what it means to have, say, a picture of yourself as a child, right? I mean, like everyone can picture what it is that you're talking about with the Memory Project. When I think about the things that service clubs do, right? There's always that question for me of like, how do you get the story out there so that people understand what it is you're trying? For you and the story of the Memory Project, what are moments along the way where you realize that telling the story in this way, sharing the story with this particular group, emphasizing this aspect of the story would prove particularly helpful in achieving the goals of the organization?
Yeah, that's a very good question and an interesting topic. Because I've certainly in the past 20 years, I have, you know, told people about the project in such a way that it just landed flat on the floor with them and it didn't resonate at all. Because, I remember talking to a guy who was involved in running an orphanage many, many years ago. And he said, well, we don't need children's drawings. We need computers and we need infant formula, and so I said, and but what he wasn't understanding was that I said, look, this isn't going to cost you anything. Like we're going to cover all the costs, and this is something that we don't really have computers or infant formula to offer you. We don't have a whole lot of money, but we do have all this large network of young people. And if and we didn't end up partnering with him, but I thought, if he would have partnered with us, all of our young people would have learned about his work, and perhaps, they would have organized a fundraiser to, purchase infant formula or something like that. So I think that the an important part of the story that we tell is that this isn't just about children's artwork. It's about uh, connections and building um, not only not only social networks, but also compassion and kindness and generosity to move through those networks. So that's where I really try to emphasize to people that, this looks like an art project, but really it's a project about creating a kinder world by connecting youth with each other and helping them see the human in one another.
I love that. Let's wind things down. Then I'll hand it back to you for the final word. And then once we finish the recording, we'll do a little bit of that creative brainstorming that we talked about at the tail end of your presentation. Looking forward to that. All of you who have been watching this recording or listening to our podcast, we hope that you will share with others these stories. The power of sharing a story that gives others hope is something that is not just helpful to those who benefit from the projects, but to those who engage in helping make that benefit happen. And we hope that that is something that you'll take away from this particular story and any of our stories. We also hope that you will leave a message for us on rotary.cool or the longer and and fuller name, siliconvalleyrotary.com. On our meeting page, there is a space at the bottom for you to leave a comment. We hope you will. It is one of the ways in an online and asynchronous club we share ideas. And so we hope that we will hear from you that way. And let us know you were here. There's a little attendance thing. We'll send you a note just saying thanks for being part of our meeting this week. As we always like to do, we hand it back to our speaker for the final word. So, Ben, what would you like people to have clearly in mind as they finish up the recording?
Oh, well, first of all, yeah, thank you again so much for having me. And I think the thought that's in my mind right now is simply that I I feel very lucky to be connected with people like you who are um, focused so much on creating a better world and to continue to create beauty in the world despite the fact that, so much of what we see on the news is doom and gloom. But I've been switching off the news, trying to disconnect from the news more and focus just every day on like what can we do to make life more beautiful for ourselves and others. And your club is a wonderful example of that. So great privilege to be here. Thank you so much.
And it's our privilege to share the story. And everyone, we will see you next week.